The Marsh Arabs, also known as the Mardan, are located in the Mesopotamian Marshes of southern Iraq. Specifically, they live in the marshlands between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and some also reside in the Hawizeh marshes along the Iraq-Iran border. The Marsh Arabs now live where the Garden of Eden was. While the Mesopotamian marshes of southern Iraq are often associated with the Garden of Eden in the Book of Genesis, the Marsh Arabs, or Madan, are a unique civilization who have lived in these marshlands for millennia, and their relationship to the region is tied to its natural resources and history. Here's a more detailed look. The Bible describes Eden as the source of 4 rivers, including the Tigris and Euphrates, which flow through the Mesopotamian region. The Mesopotamian marshes represent the literal Garden of Eden. In conclusion, while the Marsh Arabs are indeed closely associated with the Mesopotamian marshes, which is considered the location of the Garden of Eden. In 1986, the Turkish government, based on evidence presented by Ron Wyatt, declared the Durupinar site, a boat-shaped formation near Dogobayazit, a national park, and officially recognized it as Noah's Ark. A formal dedication ceremony was held in June 1987, where Wyatt was invited as a guest of honor. Wyatt, an archaeologist, extensively researched the Durupinar site, arguing it was the remains of Noah's Ark. In 1987, the Turkish government officially recognized the site as Noah's Ark and declared it a national park. A ceremony was held in June 1987 with Wyatt as a guest of honor, marking the official recognition of the site as Noah's Ark and breaking ground for a visitors center. Ron Wyatt discovered the exact location of the Red Sea crossing, specifically in the Gulf of Aqaba, using scuba diving and finding chariot wheels and other remnants. Ron Wyatt found evidence of the Red Sea crossing, including chariot wheels and other remnants at the bottom of the Gulf of Aqaba. Numerous photos have been taken of a gilded chariot wheel discovered on the seafloor, found by Ron Wyatt using a molecular frequency generator set to search for gold. This discovery aligns with the Bible's description of the Egyptian army, which included 600 choice chariots or gold-veneered chariots pursuing the Israelites. It's hypothesized that around 20,000 chariots were destroyed during the event. A 4-spoke chariot wheel, similar to those found in the Gulf, was identified in an Egyptian burial site from the same period, around 1446 BC, coinciding with the Exodus. Other discoveries at the site include chariot wheels with 4, 6, and 8 spokes, and human and horse bones, including a human femur that was tested at Stockholm University, showing mineralization from 3,500 years of resting in the Red Sea. Additionally, the true location of Mount Sinai, known as Jebel el-Lawz, with its blackened peak, can be seen from Nuweiba in Saudi Arabia. The Book of Exodus describes Mount Sinai as being enveloped in smoke, quaking, and filled with fire when God descended upon it. The burning bush mentioned in the Bible is also associated with Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is a significant location in biblical history, often associated with the giving of the 10 Commandments to Moses. Today it is a mountain in the Sinai Peninsula. Specifically, it's located near the city of St. Catherine. It's a popular site for pilgrims and tourists, particularly due to its religious significance. The Book of Exodus describes Mount Sinai as a dramatic and awe-inspiring location. When God descended upon the mountain, it was said to be covered in smoke. It quaked violently and it was filled with fire, a powerful theophany that marked the giving of the 10 Commandments. Additionally, the burning bush through which God first spoke to Moses is traditionally associated with Mount Sinai, further reinforcing its spiritual significance in the Bible. These vivid depictions are central to the biblical portrayal of Mount Sinai as a sacred place where God reveals himself directly to humanity. The site where the golden calf was worshipped, as described in the Bible, is believed to be near Jebel Makla in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi government has designated this area as an archaeological site and fenced it off to protect it from vandalism. Local traditions and the presence of petroglyphs of bull worship support this theory. A site near Jebel Makla, about 1.8 miles from the base of the mountain, is considered a potential location for the golden calf worship. The site features large rocks with petroglyphs depicting bull worship and people worshipping bulls, including one with a person holding a bull above their head. The Saudi government has erected a fence around the area and a sign confirming its archaeological significance, according to Doubting Thomas Research Foundation. In the story of Moses striking a rock to provide water for the Israelites, the rock is referred to as Hajar Musa, or the biblical Moses Rock. It is located at the base of the southeastern slopes of Gebel Abu Marur, in the central area of Wadi El Arbayan, also known as Leja. The story, found in Exodus 17:6, describes Moses striking a rock at Horeb and water gushing out for the Israelites to drink. This location is believed to be the site of the Split Rock of Horeb, located in modern-day Saudi Arabia. The Split Rock of Horeb is a significant site for many who believe it to be the location where Moses struck the rock and water miraculously flowed out. The rock formation itself has been the subject of much discussion and exploration. The remains of the Jericho city walls can be seen today at Tel es-Sultan, the location of ancient Jericho. Visitors can observe fragments of later city walls as well as remains of the Neolithic tower. Archaeological evidence, including excavations by John Garstang and Bryant Wood, suggests the walls collapsed outward, supporting the biblical account. Tel es-Sultan, also known as Tel al-Sultan, is the site of ancient Jericho. Visitors can see fragments of later city walls and the remains of the Neolithic tower. Excavations by John Garstang and Bryant Wood in the 1930s and 1990s respectively indicate the walls collapsed outward. Ron Wyatt identified and visited the Tower of Babel in 1977. He believed the structure was located on the Euphrates River about 150 kilometers north of Haran. Divine intervention. God, observing their unified language and ambition and their potential to achieve great feats without his guidance. Confusion of tongues. God confused their language, causing them to speak different languages and no longer understand each other. Scattering and abandonment. Unable to communicate or work together, the people scattered across the earth and abandoned the tower project. Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt when she looked back at the burning city of Sodom, disobeying God's command as she fled with her family. This act of disobedience serves as a lasting warning about the consequences of turning away from God's instructions. Today, in Jordan, near the Dead Sea, a natural salt formation stands and is traditionally believed to be the remains of Lot's wife. Visitors to the area can explore the region near Bab ed-Dara, is the historical site of Sodom. While the pillar may have geological origins, its connection to the biblical account continues to inspire faith and reflection. Lot's wife pillar is located at Mount Sodom along the Dead Sea in Israel near the border with Jordan. Specifically, it's visible from Road 90, about 25 miles south of Masada. The pillar is believed to be a salt formation that resembles a woman, according to the biblical story of Lot's wife turning into a pillar of salt after disobeying God's command. Ron Wyatt, an archaeologist and adventurer in 1989, discovered the biblical cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, which were famously destroyed by fire and brimstone, according to the Bible. Wyatt identified a site near the Dead Sea, particularly around Bab ed-Dara and Numeira, where he pointed to ashen ruins, strange formations resembling buildings and high sulfur content in the area as evidence of divine destruction. The ancient city of Nineveh, a significant capital of the Assyrian Empire, is located in the modern city of Mosul, Iraq. The city is Nineveh. In the Bible, God commanded the prophet Jonah to go to Nineveh and warn the people of their wickedness. Jonah, however, disobeyed and tried to escape by sailing to Tarshish. As a result, God caused a storm and Jonah was swallowed by a big fish or whale. Elaboration: God's command. God instructed Jonah to prophesy against Nineveh due to its wickedness, Jonah's disobedience. Instead of obeying, Jonah attempted to flee from God by going to Tarshish, a place potentially identified as Sardinia or Tartessos, according to the New Oxford Annotated Bible. God's intervention. God intervened by sending a storm and causing Jonah to be swallowed by a big fish. Jonah's experience. Jonah spent 3 days and nights inside the fish, praying and eventually being vomited out onto dry land. Jonah's final obedience. After this experience, Jonah finally went to Nineveh and delivered God's message, leading to the repentance of the city. On a hilltop overlooking the Elah Valley, the setting of the famous battle in the Bible between David and Goliath, lie the ruins of a mysterious ancient city. This city, dating to around the time of King David, is known today as Khirbet Qeiyafa. The site is rich with challenging puzzles that continue to be debated. The battle between David and Goliath is presented in vivid detail in the first book of Samuel, chapter 17. The Elah Valley was the very seam between Philistine and Judean lands, so whoever triumphs in this battle will reign over a strategic and fertile region. The Valley of Elah is about 15 miles west of Bethlehem and about 20 miles east of the Mediterranean Sea. It's located on the western edge of the Judean lower hills and was an important travel route from the coastal cities up to the center of the land of Judah and its main cities of Bethlehem, Jerusalem and Hebron. It's an undeveloped site that can be seen in its natural state. It has parking alongside Highway 38. The Valley of Elah is best known for the epic battle between young David and the giant Goliath, a skilled veteran warrior. The Pool of Bethesda, where Jesus healed a paralytic, is believed to be located in the Muslim quarter of Jerusalem, near the Lion's Gate and the Church of St. Anne. While the exact location is a matter of some debate among scholars, the general consensus is that it's within this area, and the ruins of some of the associated structures are still visible. The pool is believed to be situated in the current Muslim quarter of Jerusalem, close to the Lion's Gate and the Church of St. Anne. The Gospel of John recounts that Jesus healed a paralytic man at this pool, and it is considered a significant site for Christians. Archaeological evidence supports the location of the pool, and excavations in the 19th century and beyond have revealed remnants of the pool and associated structures. Today, visitors can see the ruins of the pool and the associated 5 colonnaded porches mentioned in the Gospel of John. Gethsemane is a garden at the foot of the Mount of Olives in East Jerusalem, where, according to the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, Jesus Christ underwent the agony in the garden and was arrested before his crucifixion. The garden is a place of great resonance in Christianity because it's the location where Jesus experienced profound spiritual and physical anguish before his crucifixion. It's the place where he prayed and agonized over his impending suffering and was eventually betrayed and arrested. The 4 Gospels record Jesus' intense suffering and prayer in the garden, culminating in his betrayal by Judas and subsequent arrest. The name Gethsemane, meaning oil press, is symbolic of Jesus' suffering and the atonement, as it represents the pressing out of the sins of the world. Jesus' prayer in Gethsemane, where he said, "Not my will, but yours be done," demonstrates his complete submission to God's will even in the face of great suffering. Gethsemane symbolizes the spiritual struggles that believers may face and the importance of prayer and trust in God during difficult times. The Garden of Gethsemane is a historically significant site, and the church property there is identified as the location of the garden. The House of Caiaphas, also known as the Church of St. Peter in Gallicantu, which means cock's crow in Latin, is located on the eastern slope of Mount Zion, just outside the old city of Jerusalem. According to Luke chapter 22, verse 63, at Caiaphas' house, Jesus is mocked and beaten. He is accused of claiming to be both the Messiah and the Son of God. After being betrayed in the Garden of Gethsemane by Judas, Jesus would have been taken as a prisoner to Caiaphas' house, where he would be put on trial. Tradition states that Jesus was held in Caiaphas' pit or dungeon during the night before his crucifixion. This pit was a dark, confined space where prisoners were often held. It was believed to be a place of despair and isolation, and it is believed that Jesus spent his last night there before his trial. Here's a more detailed explanation. Caiaphas was the high priest of Jerusalem during Jesus' time. His house was where the Sanhedrin, the Jewish ruling council, met to discuss Jesus' fate. It is believed that after Jesus was arrested, he was taken to the house of Caiaphas and held in a pit or dungeon. This pit was a dark, inescapable place where prisoners were lowered through a narrow opening in the ceiling. It was described as a cold, empty space with no windows, doors, or lights. The pit was the setting for Peter's denial of Jesus 3 times. While the pit is not explicitly mentioned in the Gospels, it is a central part of the tradition and is believed to be the place where Jesus spent his last night before being taken to Pilate. The site where Pontius Pilate tried Jesus and had him scourged, known as the Antonia Fortress or Herod's Palace, specifically the Lythrodus or pavement of stones. This area is believed to have been the Praetorium, where Pilate resided and conducted trials. Here's a more detailed explanation. This location is a key landmark and is the location where Jesus was beaten and flogged. The Lythrodus, a stone pavement, is where Jesus was tried by Pilate. Scholars generally agree that Herod's palace on the west side of the city was the same as the Praetorium. The area where the Antonia Fortress and Herod's palace stood is now largely a parking lot. Golgotha, also known as Calvary, was the site outside Jerusalem where Jesus was crucified. It's often described as a hill, a place of execution, and is mentioned in all 4 Gospels. More details. Golgotha, meaning place of the skull, is a central location in Christian theology, representing the site of Jesus' sacrifice for humanity's sins. The Gospels indicate that Golgotha was outside Jerusalem, near a road and by a garden. Golgotha is also known as Calvary in Latin and place of the skull in Greek. The Garden Tomb is located just outside the city walls of Jerusalem near the Damascus Gate and is a place of Christian worship and witness. The Garden Tomb is the site of Jesus' burial and resurrection. The Garden Tomb aligns with the biblical description found in John chapter 19 verses 41 to 42. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb in which no one had yet been laid. So, because of the Jewish day of preparation, since the tomb was close at hand, they laid Jesus there. Matthew chapter 27 verses 57 to 60, Mark chapter 15 verses 46 to 47, and Luke chapter 23 verses 50 to 53. The tomb itself, carved out of solid rock, features a small entrance and an inner chamber where a body could have been laid. Notably, the groove outside the entrance suggests the presence of a rolling stone, which corresponds with Matthew chapter 28 verse 2. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and going to the tomb rolled back the stone and sat on it. The site was rediscovered in 1867 by British General Charles Gordon, who noted its striking resemblance to biblical descriptions of Golgotha. Nearby, a rock formation resembling a skull supports the theory that this may be the site of Jesus' crucifixion. While archaeological evidence definitively confirm this as Jesus' tomb, the location's atmosphere of peace and reverence makes it a meaningful place for believers to contemplate the resurrection. The Mount of Olives is a significant landmark in Jerusalem and the location where, according to the New Testament, Jesus ascended to heaven after his resurrection. It is located east of the Old City and is a holy site for Jews, Christians, and Muslims. The Mount of Olives is frequently mentioned in the Bible and later religious literature and is considered a sacred place for pilgrims. Here's why the Mount of Olives is important. Jesus' ascension, the Acts of the Apostles, Acts chapter 1, verses 9 to 12. Records that after Jesus gave the Great Commission to his disciples, he ascended to heaven from the Mount of Olives, place of prayer. Jesus and his disciples often prayed on the Mount of Olives, including the night before his crucifixion when he went to the Garden of Gethsemane. Significance in prophecy. The Mount of Olives is also a prominent location in prophecies about the future, including prophecies about the end times and the second coming of Jesus. Natural boundary. The Mount of Olives forms the natural boundary between Jerusalem and the Judean desert, a significant geographical feature in the region. Pilgrimage site. The Mount of Olives is a major destination for Christian pilgrims who visit to reflect on Jesus' life and teachings. In Revelation chapter 1 verses 9 to 20, Jesus appears to John on the island of Patmos. John is in exile on the island when he hears a voice calling to him and then sees Jesus the Son of Man. This reunion takes place in a cave, which is now known as the Cave of the Apocalypse. John writes down the visions he received on Patmos in the book of Revelation. The request is to connect Patmos with John the disciple. John the disciple, often referred to as John the Apostle or John the Beloved, was exiled to the Greek island of Patmos. While on Patmos, John received visions from Jesus and then wrote the book of Revelation. Here's a more detailed explanation. Patmos. This is a Greek island in the Aegean Sea. John the disciple, specifically it refers to John the Apostle, one of the 12 disciples of Jesus, exile. John was exiled to Patmos by the Roman authorities, likely due to his Christian beliefs and the persecution of Christians during that time. Book of Revelation. John wrote the book of Revelation while on Patmos, receiving visions from God that are described in the book. The visions he received include symbolic imagery, prophetic messages, and assurances of Christ's ultimate victory. The Shroud of Turin, with its dimensions aligning to those of the tomb in the Garden Tomb, provides strong support for the theory that it was Jesus' burial cloth. This correlation strengthens the claim that the shroud is indeed authentic and connected to the burial site traditionally believed to be that of Jesus. The Akiane Kramarik Jesus painting portrait matched up identically on all levels to the Shroud of Turin face, matching to every single dimension. The Prince of Peace portrait of Jesus, painted by Akiane Kramarik, matches the face on the Shroud of Turin in every detail with identical features and proportions. The alignment of the painting and the shroud's image on all dimensions supports the idea that Akiane's depiction is remarkably accurate, closely resembling the image believed to be of Jesus.